Today we're going to be looking at how Virtensys IOV appliance can be used with VMware vSphere. What we're looking at here is a bare metal host that has vSphere installed in it with the local onboard adapters, and their local storage adapters are just the onboard IDE controllers for SATA disks. Now if we flip over to the Virtensys Management Console, once we're logged in, we'll have the ability to look at the resources that are both physically and virtually available to the system. I've already predefined the ports. These are the ports in which the servers are going to connect physically leveraging PCI Express through our infrastructure. Now, what you see on the right side are the physical adapters that Virtensys virtualizes in hardware and software. Now, the first thing we're going to do is add a pair of virtual 10 gig NICs. Now, these are going to look to the server as if they were locally installed in the physical PCIe slot, but in reality, they are a virtual instantiation that's presented over the PCI Express framework. Now, if you can see here, I've added some friendly names and allocated a percentage of bandwidth. This is a guarantee on the specific virtual NIC port that's going to be presented to the system. Now, I can do this on Ethernet. On Fiber Channel, let's add another set of virtual ports, and these are going to be virtual HBAs, which are going to be presented and used for storage access for our Fiber Channel SAN. You'll notice, as with the 10 gig NICs, there are also MACs and WWNs that are grayed out. These are auto-generated personalities or personas from an I/O perspective. No need for the administrator to manage MACs or WWNs or physical WWNs anymore. These are all auto-generated by the system. In this view, we can actually see the servers and their virtual relationship to those virtual adapters that we've just created. We also have the ability to look at the physical adapter and its relationship back to the virtual instance that's being presented to that host. And you can see again the MAC addresses that have been generated, the guarantees on bandwidth, reservations if you will, and the bandwidth control for Ethernet specifically. This gives an administrator the view of a mapping from a physical to virtual perspective so they can see what they've allocated and on which interfaces to which servers. Now, if we switch over to the system view, we can actually see the physical back end of our appliance. Now, these white plugs you're seeing here, these indicate that we've actually got a live port and that we're configured. Slots 9 and 10, as you can see on the screen here, are the real physical adapters that we've seen on the right-hand side of our rack view. And what we've done here is paired up physical adapters with virtual instances so that many servers, in this case up to 16 single servers, can gain access to these virtual instances. Now we're going to commit these changes and allow these hosts that are currently powered on to see these actual interfaces. Now with vSphere there is one caveat. It's not a true plug-and-play operating system as it relates to PCI Express. So in order for these servers to recognize these new interfaces, I need them to reboot, and then they'll discover them on boot, they'll load the appropriate drivers, and then they'll be able to utilize these interfaces. Now it's important to understand that when Virtensys presents these virtual adapters, they're presenting a virtual version of the same physical interface that they would locally be installing inside the server. So there's no need for us to load any specific software or Virtensys specific software. It uses the native drivers for the QLogic card, for the Intel 10 gig card, and for our SAS SATA controller support for the LSI MegaRAID controller. From this view, you can see we have a variety of administration options as well as health, logging, statistics, to be able to see what's happening on the system from an administrative and from a health perspective, from an appliance perspective, to see any of the events which are also trappable by SNMP and sysloggable. Now if we switch back to those vSphere hosts, what we can see is that now we have 10 gig NICs assigned to these hosts. They've detected them on reboot, loaded the appropriate drivers, again, which are the Intel native drivers within vSphere and the QLogic drivers for the HBAs. I've already assigned a network, associated a load balancing policy. I can ping these interfaces, they're accessible. And if I had fiber channel storage in my lab, you'd be able to see LUNs on these particular fiber channel HBAs.